Our meeting is called to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Buckner?
Here.
Reverend Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Here.
Mr. Raleigh?
Here.
Mayor Saunders?
Here.
Mr. Shanks?
Here.
Mr. Vogel?
Here. Please stand for the invocation. Remain standing for the pledge given tonight by Vice Mayor Dr. Gary Miller.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, in this season of thanksgiving and blessings, thank you for the blessing of food on our table, and help us to find food for those who are less fortunate. Thank you for the blessing of shelter over our heads, and help us to find shelter for those who are cold. Thank you for the blessing of having a job, and help us find jobs for those who want and need to work. Thank you for the blessing with being with loved ones over the holidays, and help us console those who have lost loved ones over the past year. And thank you, Lord, for the blessing of this city, and for all, and bless all who live and work there. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Under communication, those who wish to speak on any item not on the agenda will be heard at this time. If you wish to speak on any agenda item, you will be heard when those items are considered. I know we have two people here tonight who will be speaking to us. Let me invite the first person up, Mr. Jerry Dooley, to please come up and introduce himself. And while Mr. Dooley is coming, he is the interim CEO for LifePoint Hospital. I know that all of us are familiar with LifePoint Hospital. We call it here Danville Regional Medical Center. And we know about the CEO change. We know that Mr. Deaton has been here for a while, and he has gone now to take a position in Tennessee. I can tell you that I have talked to Mr. David Dill many times, the COO about LifePoint in Tennessee. I've met with Jerry Dooley several times in a very, very good meeting. I've received several phone calls from Mr. Victor Giovanetti, and please pronounce that name correctly if I didn't say it correctly just then.
That's correct.
I can assure you that LifePoint is aware of the history in Danville and in this region. I can assure you that LifePoint has committed to keeping things moving in a positive way. Again, I've talked several times with Mr. Deaton, who is now going to Tennessee. I've talked several times with the Chief Operating Officer, David Dill. I've talked several times, to include last night, with Victor, who's in the LifePoint corporate office in Tennessee, and I've met with Jerry as well. So welcome, sir, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Saunders and members of the City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. I do want to introduce myself to the Council. My name is Jerry Dooley. I'm an interim CEO at the hospital here, Danville Regional Medical Center. This is what I do. I spent 30 years as a permanent CEO. I've been working with LifePoint since March of 2010, and this will be my 13th hospital that I've served in an interim capacity. So I followed Eric at Withville as well, so I hope this is not a pattern. I don't intend to go to Kingsport, Tennessee after this assignment, I can assure you. I am from Indiana, Terre Haute, and it's cold there. We had some snow over the weekend, so I understand it's supposed to be maybe 65 here next week, though, so hopefully there's some better days coming. I do want to echo what the mayor said. David Dill and Victor came in and met with the Hospital Board of Trustees on November the 3rd, my first day there. And then they met with some community leaders the following morning and assured them that, number one, the progress that's been started with Eric will continue. We have no intentions of taking any steps backward. There's a strategy in place for the hospital, and we continue to move that strategy forward. The commitment to projects that have been started and have been implemented when Eric was here. Things like our residency program continues to grow. The River District Research Building Project continues. We have plans to continue building the imaging in the urgent care clinic in Chatham. We've met this week on that one. We will continue our partnerships with Averett University and Danville Community College. So those things will continue, and I'm sure there's other things that will develop over the next few years, and the hospital will be involved in. We are committed to having a very, very successful hospital and a very, very successful community. The partnerships that have been formed over the past few years are very important to us, and I think very important to the community as well. So again, I'm very pleased to be here. It's my second time doing as an interim CEO in Virginia, or actually third time. I was in Wytheville, and then I was at Martinsville 4 years ago. So I'm somewhat familiar with the landscape here. But I'm very happy to be back in Virginia and working with the hospital and working with the community and meeting with the mayor and talking about things that we are doing. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that any of the council members may have.
Questions, comments? Mr. Campbell.
Yes, Mr. Dooley, I had the opportunity. First, we do want to welcome you
Thank you.
here to Danville. And, of course, this phase here in transition is very important. I've met with you and talked with some of the LifePoint directors in Tennessee, and they have ensured us and Danville that the hospital, Danville Moore, will move forward and just not to exist. And that's most important, that it moves forward. We do thank you for your service that you're doing now. It's very valuable. And, of course, as long as what the mayor said, whatever we can do to assist in any kind of way, you have our support.
I appreciate that. I think the number one priority for the hospital right now, obviously we're going to continue things, but the number one priority is putting the management team together. There is an ongoing search for a full-time permanent CEO here. I know that search is continuing. I honestly don't know where it is, but I do know that they have interviewed people. You may have seen in the paper last week that we did appoint a chief operating officer. Spencer Thomas, who will be joining us on December the 8th, is coming from a hospital in Tennessee where he was the CEO there. We have an interim chief nursing officer, and we have a chief financial officer, so many of you may know Dennis, has been there for 3 or 4 years. So that is a priority for us to get a stable management team in the hospital.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, as the mayor said, we met with the CEO of LifePoint and Derek Deal, and we told him, people are nervous. The word on the street, the feeling on the street is, here we go again, and we don't want to go there again. Go through all the changes and CEOs and so forth. And so I know that LifePoint's making a diligent search for the right man or woman to head the hospital. And I'm encouraged that you did appoint a CEO this week. Certainly looks like a good person, and we need the leadership team. So we appreciate it, and I'm glad you rededicated your promises that these projects that are ongoing will continue to be ongoing without stop. So we're watching closely and hoping and praying. Thank you.
I understand when I go into a place as an interim CEO, there's always apprehension.
Right.
There's always that uncertainty as to what might happen. I can tell you that the hospital is growing. If we could hire more nurses, we would open more beds right now. So I think the momentum's there. And Dr. Miller, I just don't see any way that we're going to backtrack on anything that's been started. We have the commitment from David Dill. We have the commitment from Victor Giovanetti that was here. We heard him talk. And you have my commitment, my expectations, even though I come in as an interim CEO, are very high. I expect to work hard, do the right things, and I expect the people in the hospital to do the same thing. There's just not going to be any way that we're going to pull back on anything that we're doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
A simple question. Are you having any affiliation with Martinsville or just Danville solely?
Yes, with Martinsville as well. I will serve the same role that Eric has served for the last several months. I can tell you, that Martinsville has interviewed people. I know they're going to be bringing in 2 more people to be interviewed as a permanent CEO in Martinsville. I really see that position being filled quicker than this one because I think they obviously started sooner. They started before Eric left, so I will fill that role. But there's a sense of urgency to get both positions filled. But they want to make sure that they get the right person with the right skill set, the right leadership skills, the person that fits into the hospital and the person that fits into the community, but also somebody that wants to be there. So I think they will take their time, but I have confidence they're going to find the right person for both positions.
Anyone else? I'd like to again thank you, Mr. Dooley. I won't echo everything that we've talked about in the last 30-plus days. I do want to agree with the Vice Mayor that people in the community, people are watching. And when I met with the Vice Mayor and I, with Mr. Dill, we had several points. Quite frankly, I had a list of 20 issues about the community that I reviewed with him, and he received them very well. So not to review the past, taking everyone's word, looking forward to moving together for the good of our city and for the good of our region. One thing I would like you to say just a little bit more about, if you can, when you said this was your 13th hospital, I saw a gasp in the audience because before Mr. Deaton, it was like a revolving door. So emphasize that you are interim, you came here as interim, and you anticipate LifePoint having a full-time CEO somewhere around what time frame?
Absolutely. I am an interim CEO. I have no interest in a full-time permanent position. I did this for 30 years. I love what I do, but I have a family back in Indiana who would like to see more of me. We will sometime this summer be great-grandparents. And so I am an interim. Right. It just so happens that with LifePoint, they own about 70 hospitals, and there is turnover. And then when that occurs, a lot of times I will get a call and say, Jerry, can you go here? Can you go here? Can you go here? And that's what I do. But I am an interim CEO.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Davis Montgomery from Duke Energy. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council.
Good evening.
Members of the staff. My name is, of course, Davis Montgomery. I'm a district manager for Duke Energy. As I have in the past, I have committed to this council and this community that we will periodically update you on things related to our ash basin work, other relevant or related information that you might be interested in. Of course, as always, to answer any questions that you have. The most recent bit of information I have for you is the announcement last week that Duke Energy has announced coal ash excavation plans for 4 of our sites, one of which is the Dan River site. This is required by North Carolina DENR, which is the equivalent of your Virginia DEQ. Those plans are out there. They're available on a website. The one for Dan River is about 23 pages long, but it only addresses the first phase of the work that we're going to have to do there. So I want to emphasize that. It will be evolving as we move along. But these are the 4 highest priority sites that were identified in the Coal Ash Management Act that was passed back in the fall. So these are getting the highest attention. These are getting the first priority. These will be the first locations where that ash will be excavated and moved. The law requires that we have that ash moved by August of 2019, and then in all the other ash basins by December of 2029.
Both ponds? Both ponds?
Yes, sir. Both at Dan River. The question from Vice Mayor Miller was both ponds at Dan River, and the eventual plan, sir, is that we remove both ponds and the dry ash stacks that are above those ponds.
By when?
By 2019.
Okay.
Yes, sir. In fact, the August of 2019 is the deadline date for that. Okay. So we have filed those plans. DENA has them in their hands. We are waiting for them to approve them. We've applied for the necessary permits in order to begin the work, so we're just anxiously waiting for that approval so we can begin the first phases of moving that ash.
Questions, comments for Mr. Montgomery?
None related to
Mr.
that.
Vice Mayor?
Just one more comment. I am ecstatic that we finally got a plan, or at least got a plan in place. Because, as I remember, it was 2009 when Diener first approached Duke about moving those ash ponds, and the plans never got done. And it took a crisis or a catastrophe to get to this point. So hopefully it won't take that long to get the plans approved and the ash moved.
We are probably as hopeful as you are that they will approve them quickly so we can begin moving. If we are doing the process of applying for the permits. If we get a quick approval from them, our plan, we have to put some logistical things in place. We're going to be moving the ash from Dan River by rail in those first phases. Hopefully, if we get everything in place, we can begin as early as May of 2015. 65 gondola cars, 100 tons each, would be loaded each day, and 2.5 to 3 trains a week leaving that site. About 16 tons a week would be leaving that site. Those are the eventual plans for that. A couple other things I'll just mention very quickly. There's a couple of events, public events this past week. One was at the Garden Club, had 4 panelists. It was very well attended. It was a great review of some of the information that's out there. People were able to get their ideas heard and voice some concerns to those 4 panelists. 4 very qualified panelists, one of which was Mr. Barry Dunkley from the city of Danville. They all did an excellent job. The other was last night. We had a public meeting over at the Institute of Technology and Research. People came to tell us what the concerns were, how they were impacted by the ash spill, what they would like for us to do as a result of that, and to give us their ideas. We had presentations from the NERDAR trustees, the National Resource Damage Assessment and Recovery Group. They gave some information as well as a couple other short presentations. So it was meant to get ideas from the public. About 50 people or so. The weather, I'm sure, had an impact on it last night, very cold evening. But still, we had a good turnout and a good exchange of ideas. The last thing I'll mention is the first grant cycle for the $10 million Water Resource Fund will close this Thursday. We have got a lot of potential grants in there. Not all of them have been finished up yet. We, like this community, I think, are very hopeful we'll start seeing some projects done sometime around the 1st of 2015.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from Mr. Montgomery? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else wish to speak on any item not on the agenda? Anyone else? Okay, is there?
You got a hand.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And your name, please?
Hello, my name is Sonia Ingram.
Okay.
I'm here to ask you, the council, to delay the demolition order on 2 houses, 208 and 233 Jefferson Avenue.
208 and
233 Jefferson Avenue. And to also begin to make it a priority to save rather than demolish buildings in Danville's historic districts. I was recently reading an article in a Danville newspaper from the 1970s, and one of the headlines read something like, Danville residents appeal to City Council against the demolition of historic buildings. And so here we are 40 years later, we're still fighting the same battle. Protecting what makes Danville unique, what sets us apart, is more important now than ever. You can go anywhere in the United States and you can see the same strip mall with a Target and a Food Lion and the other businesses. But right now, there's nowhere else on the earth that you can see the distinctive streets and historic buildings that you can in Danville's 5 historic districts. And all of the economic reports that I have read recently, and I think that you all have read, say that protecting what makes you unique is one of the most important things that a locality can do in today's global economy. And there's a lot of different reasons for that, but one is the changing demographics. And rather than being tied to a job in a specific location, millennials can choose where they want to live and where they want to work. And time and again, we see that millennials are choosing distinctive locations, interesting places to live and work, such as historic downtowns and historic neighborhoods. but we continue to destroy ours in Danville. Since 2004, over 150 buildings have been demolished in Danville's historic districts alone. So I am asking that everyone please to look ahead, look to the future. Please don't do what is the easy thing to do. We do have more options other than demolition, options that we have brought up repeatedly to the city. So please, I just ask you to do the right thing, because Danville, the city is worth it, and the people are worth it.
Do you have others with you tonight who are supporting your position?
Others?
Present tonight supporting?
Yes.
Asking to please stand.
Yes.
Please stand if you're supporting Ms. Ingram's position. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak on any item not on the agenda? Yes, sir.
My name is C.B. Maddox. I've lived in Danville now for almost 30 years. I've lived on Jefferson Avenue for over 20 years. I used to own 233 Jefferson Avenue, and my partner and I sold it to the Ellises. The house is a little gem. It would be a crying shame to tear that house down. It has walnut and oak woodwork in the house. Now, admittedly, the back kitchen of it is leaning and should be torn off and rebuilt, but that house should be saved. Also, 208 Jefferson Avenue should be saved as well. That house has beautiful moldings in it. Yes, it does have some problems to it, but it could be as nice as my house. I live at 234 Jefferson Avenue. It has been opened many times on the Historical Society's holiday walking tour. And 8 years ago, it was also open for the Garden Club. As a matter of fact, it was the featured house on the Garden Club tour that year. So Jefferson Avenue is a beautiful, beautiful collection of houses. And it would be a pity to knock out another 2 houses on that street and have it look like, I don't know, a beautiful smile that's missing half of its teeth. So I please hope that you can reconsider the demolition of these 2 houses and also put into effect some regulations that would review the demolitions a little bit more thoroughly. Currently, there's only posting on the buildings or posting in the newspaper that indicate the demolitions. I think that any homeowner within the 300 or 500 feet radius of a house that's planning to be demolished should also be notified that one of their neighboring houses is going to be demolished. So I hope that you'll make some changes and not tear down the rest of Danville,
Just a minute, sir. Thank you so much. Ms. Vogler?
Yeah, well, while he was up here, Mr. Deputy City Manager, are we able tonight, is there any kind of update are we allowed to say on the 2 properties that keep getting mentioned? Is that something we can discuss? Or
I don't see any reason why not. The 2 structures that the owner has appealed to have the decision of the building inspections department, and so they have a few weeks to put together their case for the appeal, and so they're on hold for 3 or 4 weeks at this point until it's heard by the local building review board.
Well, and also real quick, just a couple things. Well, I have, it's been mentioned again to maybe pull back and to come up with a cohesive strategy or involve more people to discuss what to do about blight in general. And I won't go into detail. You all know I've talked about this for a couple of years now, but I want to have a blight task force with the citizens and council, and I'm hoping in some kind of way we can incorporate that. I think we were told at our last work session that in December we're going to have a discussion about a broader issue that could include that as part of it. So I hope that we do. Also, I've been talking about, and I think we're going to look at maybe doing some kind of online listing or an auction, some kind of form of having these properties more available to view for the public, and hopefully that will help with some of this. Some of it, it may not fall under that category, but again, I'm always for getting public input and hearing new ideas. And again, I thank you all for coming tonight, and hope we can find a way to come together and find some common ground on this. Thank you.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Mr. Larkin, how long have these buildings been under an order from the city to upgrade?
We've been working with various property owners for several years on both these properties. I think the 208 Jefferson started in 2003, and 233 Jefferson started in 1994. And so it's over the years, we've been working with various property owners. The property has changed hands. We've had to work with new property owners. And most recently, earlier this year, building inspections was able to go into these two structures and determine that they were unsafe. And they went through the process with the current owner and are now at the point where they were able to issue notice to proceed to a demolition contractor. It is now, like I said, on hold as they have appealed the decision of our building inspector to the local Building Code Board of Appeals, and we'll wait to hear what their decision is, although we anticipate that they would uphold the decision of our building inspections department.
I guess my question is that if they have been under some type of order from the city, unsafe or needed rehabilitating for 12 to 18 years or so, I'm not sure why the urgency that we couldn't give an organization another couple of months to work something out.
They're being afforded the same opportunity that anybody else would be afforded. They're appealing. We've made them aware of other options that they have at their disposal to allow them to have more time to come up with a solid plan. The key is that they need to have a solid plan in place for our building inspection department to work with them and allow them to have a work plan to correct the situation. But they are unsafe structures as they are now, and they need to be corrected.
How long have they been unsafe?
There's been problems with them, like I said, for at least 10 for one or 20 for the other. We've, over those years, our staff has worked with whoever the owner is to try to come up with ways to correct the issue. They've had work plans submitted by the current owner. Nothing was ever done on either of those. So we've gone through the process as a staff to try to work with the owners to get things corrected. It just hasn't happened yet. And at some point, you got to make a decision to correct the unsafe situation. And that's where we are.
Mr. Buckner.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of controversy over these two buildings, these two properties. Is it possible that, I'm just asking questions, is it possible that we could say, is there somebody planning to purchase these properties that are going to fix them up?
To my understanding, there is someone interested in buying 208. I don't know that Joe Ellis has pursued selling 233 at this point.
Okay. Well, is there a possibility that some way we can work something out where, to say 6 months from now, if you haven't done anything with the properties, if you haven't closed on the properties, you haven't swung a hammer, you haven't done anything, is there something we can do to, say, delay it 6 months? I think 6 months is plenty of time to close on a deal and get some work going. I'd like to propose that if I could. I don't know if we can or not.
Excuse me. We're still in public hearing, and
Okay.
I do want, no, it's okay. And I do want to get all the comments. Mr. Larkin, did we get a report recently about these properties?
Yes.
In terms of status report?
Everyone should have got an email this morning.
Right. And secondly, are we going to talk about the OWE in our work session this afternoon? And if we want to talk about that, we can, I'm sure.
It is on this specific issue isn't on the work session.
Yeah, it's not, but the OWE is.
Yes.
Okay, so it's an opportunity for more information to be gathered and discussed. Okay. Mr. Whitfield.
What I was going to say is at this point, the way the city code is written, council wouldn't have the authority to do that. All of those decisions are in the hands of the building code inspector now. council could change the code, but at this point, it's the building code inspector that makes those final decisions as to when things are condemned and demolished and when structures are safe and unsafe. So
They've been unsafe for 20 years. 6
I'd like
months.
to make some clarifications on that.
Yes, sir.
Because in, I believe, 1994, when you were mentioning 233 was owned by, I believe his name was Bill Powell, and he did do upgrades on the electrical at that time. That house was at that time home to a drug dealer. And we did work with the police to get that drug dealer out of the house. I don't know if he was ever convicted or not. And we stabilized the house at that point before selling it to the Ellises. The house was never condemned until just recently in the Ellises' possession. 208 Jefferson Avenue had been owned by the Fontaines. They went through a very messy divorce, and the house was condemned at that point. And one of the factors that led to the condemnation of the house was the fact that the front door had been left open, and the house was, quote unquote, unsecured. And Dorothy Nesbitt then purchased that house, and then she sold it to the Ellises. So it has been condemned for some time.
Mr. Buckner, you have more?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Shanks and Mr. Jones.
Well, I was going to just back off, but I did want to make the comment that the biggest issue is the fact that the houses are considered unsafe. And it would seem, with all the interest in this room, that if there is a desire to allow time for things to happen that may happen regarding a transfer of ownership, that perhaps those who have such an interest could help get the homes boarded up so that the city would not be in a position of liability.
Because once they're gone, they're gone. And the way the system is currently set up, when a house like that is demolished and a $22,000 lien is put on the property, who's going to buy that property to satisfy the lien? The properties in this area are pretty much right now valued to $2,500, $35,000, maybe $4,000 for a lot in the Old West End district. So who's going to pay $24,000 for an empty lot that the house has been torn down on? When, for the most part, you can buy some of the houses that need fixing up for $24,000.
Shanks.
Yeah, you mentioned the liens on the vacant property. Well, right now there are liens. That's part of the difficulty for the city to deal with this. The city doesn't own the property.
Right.
And there are liens that have to be satisfied before anybody can buy the properties, and they're probably worth more than the houses are at this time. So it's easy for us to see how important it would be to save these houses, it's also easy for us to see how difficult it's going to be to find a buyer with wherewithal to clear the liens, the wherewithal to make the improvements. So I'm not trying to take sides here. I'm just trying to say it's a difficult situation for the city to continue to allow to occur, because the odds are stacked against anyone taking possession free and clear of the properties. And if someone could, I'm sure the city staff and I'm sure city council would love to see somebody come in and fix those houses. But it's just a difficult situation with the properties tied up the way they are.
Well, we've all gone through a very difficult situation over the last few years with the Great Recession. I know we practically went belly up. We invested way too heavily in real estate in Danville. At one point, we owned 10 properties on Jefferson Avenue, and we sold several of them to the Ellises. So.
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Maddox, thank you so much for being here. My family grew up in that area. My mom is still over there on Calhoun Street. I remember when Mr. Reynolds and his staff came over to Mosley Church and had a meeting with everyone in the community. To me, I sit here somewhat excited because there are people who want to help develop that community which I grew up in. At the same time, as Mr. Shanks stated, there are rules, laws, and regulations. I just hope we're not blaming anyone. We're just trying to come up with solutions to kind of keep this moving forward. So my question to the city, deputy city manager, Colonel Meter came here a couple of weeks ago. Is there any way possible that we can just have communication, some sort of communication geared to someone in this group so they can see what's going on and see what they could possibly do within the next 30 to 60 days or whatever the timeline may be, so they can be aware of communication is the key here, I think. I think everybody's on the same page. You want to see the neighborhood flourish. You want to see everybody get together. It's not city council against this group. But is there any way that any information that we have, we can give this information to maybe Colonel Meter or someone here so they'll know what they can do to be able to try to save these properties?
We were included, staff was included on email chains where it became apparent that there might be a potential purchaser for the property. So at that point, we interjected and asked if that whoever is interested in purchasing it would meet with our staff. So I met with the person who was interested, and Earl Reynolds, Jerry Rigney, and Janice Galloway. We all met last week, Thursday.
Excuse me, sir. I apologize. Mr. Jones, is your question about Colonel Meter, or your question about Mr. Maddox?
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job. I think Colonel Meter, when you actually want to stand up, Colonel Meter stood up as well. And I think you all together. And I think Colonel Meter brought this to our attention. In other words, is there anybody in this group that we can get information to and updates to try to save these properties? Is my question.
Well, what I was about to say is that we want to talk to the person that has interest in purchasing it to see what their plan is. And we gave them options that are available to them and anybody else in a similar situation to appeal it for more time, to do more things, to get more time, and to give them an opportunity to come together with a solid plan. And there has been a history, and I can't speak for the building inspection department, but there has been a history when somebody brings forward a solid plan, has financing in place, and can demonstrate they have the ability to correct a situation, that he will work with them. And I don't doubt that he would not do that in this case as well. I'm certain he will do it in this case.
Well, thank you. So right now what we're waiting on is a solid plan.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. King.
Okay, other question for Mr. Maddox. Mr. Gistrap, Mr. Maddox?
No, Mr. Larkin.
Thank you, Mr. Maddox. Thank you, sir. Okay. Mr. Gistrap?
Who can make the appeal? Is that the owners only, or can a community organization appeal that?
It's my understanding that the owner, or I guess maybe an aggrieved party, is how it's worded, I believe, and that typically would be the owner. But the owner can work with anybody to help them.
You have more, Mr. Gistrap?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Wish to speak, sir? Yes, sir. Your name, please.
Excuse me. My name is Stephen Wilson. I moved to Danville 10 years ago. I live 918 Main Street. Excuse me. Came to Danville from New Jersey to start a company called Luna. And I started, that was my third company, and I left Luna in 2008 before it went bankrupt and started two more companies in Danville. But in fact, we moved to Danville specifically because of the historic houses around here. It was an incredible place, especially if you're from the New York area. And just coincidentally, this was now 10 years ago, summer 2004, we made an offer on 208 Jefferson. We tried to buy, we call it Dorothy's house, and they wouldn't sell it. And then I think it was 2007, there was an auction, and again the owner wouldn't sell it. I was there, would like to buy it again, and they wouldn't sell it. And so I just had one comment before I make my statement about the time. How much time do you get to save a house? And the problem really has to be these owners. And there are owners that buy houses in Danville back in that period that thought they were in Southern California. They were going to make a killing in real estate. And I had that book, but that was earlier. It doesn't apply really to Danville. So what I want to speak is about what I consider. I'm not particularly a preservationist. We just bought this year our fourth historic house in Danville. We have one on Main Street in Millionaires Row. And the reason I spoke, actually, I forgot to mention, is that one of the councilmen said, where are the people who want to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into these houses? This is a quote from one of the councilmen. And so I'm here to say that I'm at least one of them, and I have at least a dozen neighbors on Main Street, and there are many others, some in the audience, that don't think that you need to put hundreds of thousands. In fact, that particular house, 208 Jefferson, the city hired their experts to rehab the house for $81 a square foot. That's $350,000. And so the fact is that I would, if we didn't already have a project, I would have got that house. And another one of my colleagues who has a number of houses around this area, we're sure you could rehab that house for less than $100. But in any case, we have a house on Main Street. We have two houses on two houses on Green Street, 868 Green, 923 Green. We just bought a house on Holbrook Avenue. And the two houses on Green Street are rented. We've rehabbed them for actually less than $100,000 each. They're rented right now for several years, one of them for 5 years, one of them for 4 years, constantly rented, $1,000 a month or so, or more than $1,000 a month. There's a huge growth in our targeted demographic because of the River District. There are probably hundreds of people there, and I get calls from people who say their lease in the condo is up. They want a house near downtown, and they're very interested in moving into the West End. So I really can't understand the idea of that the city, and I'm sure it's not the code violation people aren't in the real estate business, but in fact these are assets the city has to actually create a market for bringing people to Danville, which is why I moved here. And so I was thinking the city should actually really have a more comprehensive plan to have a market-driven, actually you have a plan. It's RFP 13/14-091, housing study. Charles Buki, I talked to earlier this week. I met his people, came to town. They actually are going to present their study in December to the council, I believe, on how they, I assume their assignment was to use property, quote, this is from the RFP, develop a market-build strategy for initial priority area. The city has selected the Old West End. And to actually capitalize on the River District development plan. So I think the River District is working. People actually are looking towards this area. And it's certainly, for whatever reason, it's not the time to destroy the assets that we have for these young millennials that are actually looking for space out here. And so if you have the picture of this house, that is it's 208 Jefferson, that picture is, I can guarantee there are hundreds of people up the East Coast between here and Boston that would move to Danville just for that house. And I know there's not a single person between here and Boston that would move to Danville for a house by the golf course. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to move to Danville for a neighborhood that you can get in every other town. So you really have to think about this in terms of economics for the real estate around here. It's a huge draw. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Yes, my name is Sean Davis. I own a house on Sutherland Avenue, and I grew up in Danville. I moved here when I was 1 with my mother. Her family was raised on Sutherland Avenue, and I grew up during the great 70s and 80s of Danville. Mr. Vogler, Mr. Buckner, you might not remember Crackhead Street being called Crackhead Street. that's what I grew up in. And this was like the whole neighborhood that, oh, we're not going to go downtown. My granddad was attacked on Sutherland Avenue. His jaw was broken during the 70s, and that's why he left. And, I moved up to New York for 10 years, and one of the greatest things that I missed was a sidewalk community. A sidewalk community where I could go to church, a sidewalk community where I could walk to a local grocery store, a sidewalk community to where when I'm walking down the street, I can see neighbors sitting on the front porch, which we don't have in a lot of America. Porches are like 3 feet deep. Protection of neighbors, listening to the kids laugh in the street, not where it was like when I heard and saw during the 70s and 80s and 90s, really, where you just didn't want to go down those streets because of roving gangs of, I'm not even going to call them children because they never had a chance to have a childhood, but just groups of people causing trouble. And what I'm asking from y'all, and I'm asking not a lot, but maybe I am. You've made great efforts with the downtown effort, and it is moving up towards Averitt College. And the thing is when I bought my house, it should have been condemned. Literally, my bathroom upstairs, toilet falling through the floor. My kitchen, you'd walk through it, there was a 2.5-inch dip. There was no kitchen. Plumbing, shot. Electricity, shot. Everything was wrong with it. It should have been torn down. Now, it's taken me longer to rebuild this. But in that time on my street, we've had over 15 different groups of children playing on my street. When I first arrived there was drug dealers. Now you can go up there. You know what our biggest problem is? Traffic from downtown. Because what do? They go up Newton, Green Street, and they're not going to go up by the stoplight on Hallbrook. They're cutting across Sutherland Avenue. Guess what? That's great news. I mean, now I'm having to go to the city and say, I need help controlling the traffic. This is something the fabric of Danville needs, because we do need the golf club neighborhoods. We do need the neighborhoods that like to go to Target. We do need the neighborhoods that like to go to the mall. We do need the neighborhoods that support the elderly. We do need that fabric. But there's also a generation that's coming around that appreciates the sidewalk community. Our downtown has a sidewalk community that's being built. All of you have witnessed it and have seen that organic growth come from people wishing to something to grow, and they've come to you and you've helped support the downtown. That development is now moving up to Averitt. So what I ask, because one of you mentioned the regulations prevent you from stepping in and altering the course of this. So if we're able to give 30, 60 days of change, can the rules be regulated and changed to where you can step in and say, we need more time on these homes if we can come up with backers that have a solid plan? That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, everyone. I'm Ann Silvis. This is my husband, Dave Clark.
We live at 161 Holbrook Avenue, and I would like to say that we appreciate your time, your concern, and your interest. My wife and I are the end of what many people in this audience represent as the beginning. We moved to Danville based on a website, historicproperties.com. We came to Danville, we wanted this climate, we wanted a bit of southern lifestyle. We grew up, if you've seen the Weather Channel today, Hamburg, New York, we lived there and worked there for 30 years. They have 4 feet of snow today. So we're glad to be here. But we did not buy a house slated for demolition We did not buy a house that was in need of renovation, not even a fixer-upper. I don't have the skills, and quite frankly, I don't trust that I have enough years left to do what many people in this audience do, and that is to bring back a home from the brink. But we are very fortunate to live in the Old West End in a house that was a disaster. It was bought at auction, totally rehabilitated by Dr. Allen and Vicki Lynn before us, to the point where in 2002 they received a commendation from the Danville Historical Society. The previous owners left us a photo album that very interestingly documents the decaying condition of our house in 1983. And today, our house is on the cover of the recently completed Old West End Design Guidelines. We continue to work on our house. Our story can and is being replicated in Danville and particularly in the Old West End. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just made a list last night of all the places locally that we have contacted and hired to help. We're basically putting the frosting on the cake on our house because we're getting the pocket doors reinserted into the pockets, and we redid the kitchen. We're redoing the stained glass so that it doesn't fall down. It was 100 years old. So I just made a list of, there's a full page of local people we have used and hired and products we have bought locally just to rehab the house. So we were talking about economics, and it does make a lot of sense to, a vacant lot is not going to let us buy anything or make us, or encourage us to fix anything. I also walked around the neighborhood this morning, just around my block on Sutherland, Jefferson, Holbrook, and Green Street, and took pictures of all the different projects that are going on in the neighborhood. There's new porches, newly painted houses, newly painted roofs, new windows going in. One of the people that's here tonight. People are doing new steps on their front porch. Someone just had their house power washed. On Sutherland in particular, there's 3 or 4 new porches going up and new paint jobs. And again, that goes to the economic parts of the plan. These people are spending money and hiring people in Danville. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being supportive.
We'll leave these photographs. We don't want to pass them around now because we don't want to take away from the other people. But we will leave these here for
The clerk. Sir, would you give them to the clerk, please? The clerk.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
But, Ms. Damasi, would you please hold those? We specifically don't want them to be passed around now because we don't want to take away from the other presenters. Thank you.
Now, excuse me, are you giving these to the city or asking us to hold them for you?
The photographs?
Yes.
Oh, they're for the council.
Okay.
Yeah, just to show you, give you a taste of what's going on in the Old West End.
These are our records to keep.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, friends, and those in attendance. I am Frederick Meader, Jr. of Green Street, and I got to tell you something. I don't know if I can do as good as my friends have done. Before I get going, I've got a presentation for council members. May I approach?
Sure.
This is the Danville Historical Society's music. It's full of information about what's going on in our neighborhood. I come before council to confirm to you my long-held belief that the Old West End Historic District is an economic engine and a key component of Danville's revitalization, a main draw to our city by those not residing within the city. Yet an undiscovered or recognized jewel ready to be promoted versus demolition of historic home by historic home. Tourism in the state of Virginia is a $21 billion enterprise. In the city of Danville, medicine and education are the driving forces of our economy. When you connect the two paths, you start at the newly renovated River District. This path travels through the Old West End District, past the Danville Museum of Fine Arts and History, past Stratford College, past Danville Regional Medical Center, and ends at Montague Street. If you continue past Avery University and Blue Park, you come again to another important area of our town with a long history, the Schoolfield area. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the city extended as a first step to us the similar crosswalks in downtown all the way through to Schoolfield, and to make this one movement? Tied neatly together on 1.5 miles of our main street, there are 3 revenue streams: medical, education, and tourism. Why is the Old West End not recognized by the city as an economic engine? Because the city can't or does not have an accurate method to determine how it contributes to the lifeblood of our city. It isn't a corporation that promises to provide 25 jobs, and in the far term, 100 jobs. Yet this year alone, easily 25 new jobs were established in the renovations of the historic district. And we're just going to say 12 homes were fixed up. And in those homes are now occupied. It increases the cash flow of our city. New residents shop here. They eat in Danville restaurants. They pay utilities. They hire plumbers and heating contractors to repair their buildings as they break. Just imagine how many jobs are lost each time an historic home is taken down. 3 days and brought to a landfill in under 3 days, as compared to jobs created and the materials purchased for a 1.5-year process. And Councilman Bowler, it takes at least a 1.5 years to bring one of these back to life. It doesn't happen in 6 months. And I appreciate your article last winter, but it's about a 1.5 years. And because all of us have to make a living too, except for Dave, he's retired. That's a long-standing joke, by the way. All right, returning to tourism. It's absolutely important for all of us to recognize that the integrity of the historic neighborhood is instrumental to the health and the growth of the Danville tourism and the River District. Just this year, working with the Danville Historical Society and many other partners, my wife's and my corporation, Outdoor Designs, put in place Learn, Explore, and Enjoy on the city grounds of the Danville Museum. And I must comment that the City Council helped fund some of that. From a starting point, the Danville Historical Society's walking tour visits many places up and down the street, and also the Learn and Explore meeting area represents the only place one can sit on the museum grounds. Now, I would like to ask everybody in attendance, and that's everybody, and that's City Council members, if you've participated in the walking tour, please stand up. This is the 7th inning stretch. Who's been on the walking tour? Has any? I'm serious. Has any City Council member been? No. 2, 3. Okay, this is a Danville tourism thing. I've invited people to come stay at my home from as far away as New Mexico. I've taken them on the tour. I've taken women's lunch groups on the tour at my expense. I've taken my cousins and my friends and relatives on the tour. It's fascinating. I'd also like to ask, in the last 6 months, has anybody visited the Danville Museum? Okay, and I'd like to ask one more question of everybody while we're doing the 7th inning stretch. Has anybody attended the Grove Street Cemetery tour over Halloween? This tour will be broadcast in the near future on the Discovery Channel. So Danville is out there. Last City Council meeting, my brother was asked where were the buyers willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars restoring historic homes. I ask all of you, where were the councilmen during the week when the crews are busy working in the historic district restoring these homes? Have you not seen the hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent on the homes within the district? My wife Laura and I have brought back to life 802, 900, 901, 907, 909, 925, and 918 Green Street. In addition, I brought back 133 Sutherland, 434 Chestnut, and I'm currently working on 154, 407, 432 Chestnut Street. And after I'm completed there, I'll be at 862 and 866 Green Street, in addition to a home on Calhoun Street. Not only have I been doing these homes, but neighbors have been calling me and asking me to paint their home, to build their patios in their backyards, and so on. So I'm a very busy man. I sometimes wonder as I walk to work why the city of Danville has recently placed a lot of pressure on homeowners. I kind of know that answer, but there's dwellings out there that require paint and repairs, and the city is going through vacant homes looking for safety and structural integrity with the intent of possible demolition. Yet the city hasn't used the same lens and standard when it comes to the city-provided responsibilities for our roads, our sidewalks, our street lighting within the historic district. There are sidewalks within the historic districts that are unpassable by our seniors. There's the Thomas Doyle Green Street Park that a mother cannot push a baby carriage around the park because the sidewalks only go on 3 sides of the park. The sidewalks in these areas are poor at best. The Old West End District is a short 10-minute walk to downtown and even shorter walk uptown. It's an economic engine within Danville filled with good, hardworking people, from day laborers to doctors to professors to nurses to contractors, that's me, to students, senior citizens, writers, and business owners. We are white, we are African American, we are U.S. citizens, we are foreigners, and we are longtime Danville residents and newcomers to our city. We are proud to call it our home. We are proud to call the West End Historic District our home. We don't want to see it dismantled. I stand for preservation, I stand for job creation, and I stand for moving Danville forward. To you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Vogler.
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your presentation. I did just want to clarify something. You mentioned an editorial I'd written in a 6-month timeline. The 6 months was not for the project to start to finish. The 6 months was to show tangible work had been done. It's based off a model that they use in Michigan and other places. The idea is to get the projects fixed up, not to stop people.
Okay,
I know
so
it does take longer
I
than
appreciate that.
Yeah, I know it takes longer than that. I think they set that just to show that work is being done, not that they just buy it and then don't do anything.
Right.
But I did just want to clear that up. But I thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Hello there. My name is Kevin Moore.
Okay.
I'm from United Kingdom, currently living in Danville, 162 Sutherland Avenue. I'm here with my family, and we've been here about 13 weeks. Just want to be brief. One of the reasons why we moved from the United Kingdom to Danville City was because of the historic district and the beauty of it. My wife did a long research on places to live in the USA. We've traveled around the USA many times, and she found a wonderful place here in Danville. And we bought the place and we moved. And we made it our home. It needs renovating, and that's what I'm doing. The people here are wonderful. We've been welcomed here. I've been kayaking with Fred. Sean's helped me a lot with many things. And I had a lot of help from many other people in the community. I could see Danville, some of the buildings are in a dilapidated state, but I do know that they can be renovated and brought back to life. I know it's not that difficult because I've done it before in England. So I do hope you will consider or reconsider your thoughts about demolition. And as I am an example of an international family that, we've actually came here from the United Kingdom to Danville because of the history. So I do hope you will reconsider and not save the house and many other houses that are in the historic district. Just like to thank you for your time, and that's all I will say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dan Latham, and I live at 840 Main Street. With regard to demolition, houses in poor repair are a problem that all of us have in Danville, and we share it. City council, city government, citizens. Demolishing homes in need of repair, however, does not solve our problem. And while I understand that some of the houses may be beyond salvation, many of those slated for demolition can be saved. And we need a program to stop homes from moving into the demolition pipeline. We have a large supply of homes that need work, many of which are vacant. This supply currently exceeds demand for homes. And this is one reason that's given for demolition. Another is that the vacant houses attract criminal activity or the curious people, and that accidents can happen. And frankly, in the 10 years that I've lived here, I don't recall ever reading about people who have actually been injured in going into vacant houses. I've only heard about the concern that it is a possibility. And as far as the criminal activity, that can happen anywhere at any time. And if one vacant house lures a criminal, its demolition is not going to deter that activity. The crime will just move to the next place. So I don't make the connection between some of those reasons for demolition. And I don't know how many decades it's going to take and how many taxpayers' dollars to reduce the number of houses in need of repair through demolition. Do we seriously think that a decade's worth of demolition will reduce accidents or criminal activity? Can't possibly. We'll still have vacant houses that need to be demolished. We need a different system. We need a different solution, and we need it soon. Demolition as a primary solution to vacant homes is a waste of time, materials, and taxpayers' dollars. It consumes our landfills, creates vacant lots in need of perpetual maintenance, and usually at the taxpayer's expense. It adds to the liens on the properties that far surpass the values of the land. This in turn generally ensures that no one will acquire the property and build on it, adding it back to the tax rolls. In other words, demolition as a solution is a no-win, vicious circle that throws citizens' tax money down the drain. Communities across Virginia and the nation are doing a far better job than Danville with their old housing stock. We need to take a look at their programs, like the Spotlight program in Lynchburg, or develop our own to slow this need for massive demolitions. Positive solutions are out there if there is the political will to seek them out, to employ them. We may even have to propose legislation in Richmond to get some of the tools we need to save our city. And if that's what we need to do, we should do it. Particularly in our historic districts, Danville's housing stock is recognized as being one of the best examples of Victorian and Edwardian architecture in the entire Commonwealth. It's this very fact that has brought numerous new citizens to this city who've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. It's this fact that has attracted numerous visitors to the city. I see the proof of this regularly as I watch visitors stroll through the historic district with the city's own brochure in hand, or see tour groups guided by Joyce Wilburn. Historic neighborhoods are huge draws for people all across the country. They walk or drive through them, photograph them, invest in them. The cities that support and preserve these neighborhoods reap the rewards in terms of investment, higher property values, taxes, tourism, and community pride. And we need to capitalize on these invaluable assets rather than destroy them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Yes, sir.
3 minutes stops, I promise. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, my name is Gus Dyer, and I live at 119 Fox Hollow Drive. Outside of the 5 years that I spent in Blacksburg, I've lived in Danville my entire life. While at Virginia Tech, I studied both architecture and urban planning. I have a degree from Virginia Tech in Environmental and Urban Systems. While at Virginia Tech, I had the opportunity to participate in a study abroad program in London where we concentrated on historic preservation and Victorian architecture. I am a licensed contractor. In addition to all this, this very body has seen fit to appoint me to the Building Code Board of Appeals, where I've served on and off for over 20 years. I do not live or work in the Old West End Historic District. I do not own property there. So why am I here tonight? I am here because of the one issue that transcends all the other issues in this community, and that is economic development. So what's the connection between economic development and historic preservation? One of the key factors that we are constantly being told is that is holding this community back is our demographics. We are told that we are too poor and we are too uneducated. We are told that in order for this community to thrive, we need to attract more people with higher incomes and higher levels of education. Well, that's sort of a hard thing to do when we currently don't have a lot of the amenities that these folks are looking for. And it's sort of a chicken or an egg problem. So how do you attract these people here if you don't have the amenities? And how do you provide the amenities if there's not a market for them? The good news is that we have a secret weapon here in Danville, and that is our incredible stock of historic homes. These fine folks who have come here this evening and spoken to you tonight, and many, many just like them who live in our community, are the answer to an economic developer's prayers. I think the caliber of these folks here tonight speaks for itself. They raise our income levels, they raise our education levels. They are the consumers of the amenities that we are desperately trying to attract. We have people like this living in our community, not just from around the country, but from around the world. And the sole reason that many of these people are here is because of the house that they are living in. These houses are our edge, they're our bait. So while I personally do not have any connections to the Old West End Historic District, I certainly recognize its value and importance to this community, and the demolition of one of its key elements would be tragic. Please let me read to you from 2 studies just recently done about the house at 208 Jefferson Avenue. And these were studies that were done by the city, so I'm assuming the taxpayers paid for them. In 2002, Allison Platt and I believe her name is Amanda Adams did a study. The description of this particular house is that this house is 2-story load-bearing brick masonry with very fine butter joints. Metal crestings and bracketed eaves adorn the roof lines. Regrettably, the brickwork has been painted but appears to be in generally good condition. A first-floor brick bay window accents the front gable. There's one vacant lot between this house and the adjacent church, and therefore it commands a prominent position along Jefferson Avenue. That was Allison's assessment. In 2013, there was a Hill Studio assessment of the property. The property is described as a 2-story circa 1880s residence and is an excellent example of Queen Anne style. The brick house retains many of the historic features, including its ornate wraparound porch with sawn brackets, wooden windows, standing seam metal roof, bracketed cornices, and decorative attic vents. The original double-leaf front door and transom remain intact. The building is in poor condition due to its sustained neglect. Despite its deteriorated state, the house retains a high level of historic integrity and features many notable architectural elements. In trying to keep my comments brief, I've only scratched the surface of what really needs to be said. I hope that at least some of you all will reach out to me and others who are actually working on a real plan to address some of these issues that we are talking about tonight. And so I have further information if you're interested in knowing about what can be done.
Questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our comments. When I moved to Danville a couple years ago, I learned of something called Mountain Dew mouth. As you know, that's the big gap that some people have when they don't take care of their teeth and they lose some of them. They decided that maybe some of them should be yanked out that don't fit in and aren't as nice as the rest of them. Well, That's unsightly, yes. And it even deforms the structure of the face. Not only that, it can affect someone's livelihood to have Mountain Dew mouth. It's an economic issue. An employer is more likely to pass over someone who's missing some teeth that has those ugly gaps for someone that has a full set. And that is what you create when you demolish these structures in a historic district. You may think that someone can rebuild in that lot. In fact, I remember hearing somebody say that. You cannot rebuild these Victorian homes. A new house in a historic district looks like dentures. It just doesn't fit in. It just doesn't look right, doesn't look the same. You say, we can't save everything. We're not asking you to save everything. Your predecessors decided to save the Old West End by creating a historic district. They knew that this was a valuable part of Danville's history. They knew it was a valuable part of Danville's future. Look elsewhere in Virginia. Williamsburg, back in the 60s, Williamsburg was a dump. Those places were slotted to be demolished too. You ever been to Alexandria? It's beautiful there. Back in the 80s, you would never think of going to Alexandria as a tourist destination. So look at your legacy here, City Council. What you tear down today is gone forever. What you preserve today is your legacy for our future. 6 months to put this project on hold is more than a fair request to give these properties a chance to continue to be a part of Danville's rich history and its bright future. What would the Danville Museum look like if it was located on Riverside Drive? How would it feel there? It would be no comparison to what it feels like now in the historic district. It would be no comparison to what visitors experience in Danville when they come to visit our historic district. They feel our history when they come here. This area is unique. It is valuable. Let's keep it whole. Let's not make holes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, thank you all very much. In just a minute, Mr. Attorney, I'm going to ask you to repeat your response to a question that was raised on this side of the table earlier at the meeting in terms of options, what council can and cannot do. Before I do that, let me thank all council for your indulgence. Mr. Gilstrap, Mr. Vogler, Mr. Buckner, Mr. Shank, Mr. Jones, and others. When we have our public comment period, I take it as the chair that it's the time for the public to give us their concerns, their comments, and then after they've done so, then we will address and discuss that. And sometimes it's difficult to do because we have questions at the time it's being presented to us. So thank you for your indulgence, and there was no way to try to usurp or cut anyone off, and I certainly hope you continue to share your concerns. We've heard for the last hour and 20 minutes on this particular issue here, we've heard from several people expressing several points on this, and the word comes to my mind, like balancing. I think we're all familiar with the properties of the street, the location that's been discussed tonight. I know I am. And the city is looking at what it needs to do in terms of safety, health, so on and so forth. And yes, we do want investors. So I would like for the attorney to repeat his response to a question on the right of the table, and then ask council members to feel free to comment, ask questions, because clearly the interest in saving the neighborhood is here. I think I saw some documents where the city's been working with people over a period of time. Some may have been historic. The number 1974 comes in my head. That's not to mislead anyone. 2001, 2004, and I'm going from what I remember reading in terms of working on different projects. Clearly the interest here is to save the property, to restore the property, and to improve the community. And clearly the concerns have been expressed in terms of health, safety of the houses and condition and so on and so forth. So it's a balancing act. So, Mr. Attorney, back to you. What was your response to the city's options?
Was that Section 9-3 of the city code states that the code official, meaning the building code official, which is Jerry Rigney, is the executive official in charge with enforcing the Virginia Maintenance Code. And currently under the city code, all the rehab or demolition and condemnation of properties is in his power. So if there was to be a change to that, there would have to be a change to that in order to do, this was in response to Mr. Buckner's suggestion that we give 6 months, it would require a code change, in my opinion.
Okay, let's do this very quickly if we can. Mr. Gilstrap, did you have more on any of this discussion at all? Okay, Mr. Jones?
I just want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Vogler?
Nothing.
Okay, Mr. Raleigh?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Buckner?
Just thank you, guys. I don't think any of us on council or in the city, or anybody that's ever visited this city, wants the West End to go away. You'd be a fool to think that we do want it to go away. I know that there are things that happen that need to happen and things that happen that don't need to happen. But none of us, please know that none of us on this council that I'm aware of want to see the West End go anywhere. I don't, certainly. So thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
My son lives in Danville, Pennsylvania, and his house was built in 1856. The difference is these houses in that neighborhood have been kept up through the years. Now, some of them have been renovated. But there are other places that have historic homes, just like Danville, Virginia. Areas, people do like to live in these areas. I don't think anybody on the city council is opposed to renovating houses. We love that and wish the money was there to do it all. On the other hand, I'm a physician, and there is safety of the public we have to look out for. So we have to look at it from both sides. I would love it if tomorrow somebody would come in and spend millions of dollars and renovate every house in this area and every house in Danville. And we didn't have to tear any houses down. But it's probably not going to happen, and there's hard decisions to be made. The more houses to be renovated, the better off it is for Danville. Everybody on council wants that. But we have to look at public safety as well. Now, I'm not sure, and we'll discuss with the attorney, if we, rather than changing the code, can't the council at least pass a resolution asking the chairman to consider giving 6 months of post? Wouldn't that have some authority?
I'd have to look at that, but I don't think a resolution wouldn't carry the authority of law.
Yeah. But I'm saying, if we just said that and say, hey, Mr. Rigney, would you please give him 6 more months, don't you think that would have some persuasive power?
I can't speak for what Mr. Rigney...
Well, I would think it would. He would... I know Mr. Rigney. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shanks.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the same thing the doctor did about the safety is the major concern from City Council's perspective. There are a lot of properties in the neighborhood, in the West End neighborhood, that are subject to further consideration. So this is something that we need to address as soon as we can, but we need your help. I mean, each of you, several of you have numerous houses that you're working on. Several of you talked about having done houses or coming to do one house and coming here because of that historic district. Well, the important thing, the natural way for this to work would be for you to find like-minded people and help the city market the properties, because I know the colonel has his hands full with the number of houses he's gotten into, and it's a matter of finding the match of the people with similar interests and desires to help renovate the neighborhood. And it's one of those things that it's going to take a while. It's going to be tough to keep the The buildings that are empty, it's going to be tough to keep them safe and shut up from prowlers. So there's safety issues involved. But I will say this. It's hard to believe that the house, I think it's called the Oldby House, it's the house 3 or 4 doors up from the old YWCA. It's a bread and breakfast. I think you all know what house I'm speaking of. That house was scheduled for demolition in the 70s. And my wife's family, my wife actually grew up in that house right after the battle was won not to demolish that house. So it's clearly important that we try to resolve. I mean, the house is one of the beautiful houses on Millionaires Road now, but it was scheduled to be demolished. So it's important that we try to work through this, but the number one issue to council and to staff would be safety. The number 2 issue would be finding a prospective buyer or investor as quickly as possible. And you people are in the best position to do that through the connections you have through your historical society and through the people you know. So I encourage you, we'll certainly try to work with you, I think. I think I'm hearing that from all of council, but we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Campbell.
Nothing new. Like I said.
Let me, again, thank everyone for coming out tonight, and thank you for expressing your interest. Thank you for investing in our city. Thank you for caring about our city as well. And again, we're trying to find that balancing act and trying to address the concerns that you've expressed tonight. You did it very well. And looking at the public safety and other issues as well. So just know that you were heard tonight. And so thank you for doing that. We've been on this council for about an hour and a half. Let's take a 10-minute break. Thank you.
So much for 7 years.
Come on, tell me this isn't the best. 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 Come on, tell me this isn't the best.
So with the neighborhood meetings, there's been a deep divide between, this is the group that wants to save it, and there's a group of neighbors who said they want to save it because that's not in their neighborhood.
Okay.
Is that what they had the police out there for?
Speed round, Bruce.
We're back in session. Is there a motion to approve our minutes of our October 21st, 2014 meeting? Mr. Campbell, second by Mr. Vogler. Discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Following budget amendments, items A through D, were previously discussed to the council, introduced for first reading. If further considered by council, these items will be enacted by one motion. Discussion desired by a council member, the item will be removed from the consent process and considered separately. Anyone wish to remove an item A through D? Is there a motion? Mr. Shanks.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I see no controversy in items A through D, the consent agenda, and therefore I move for adoption of items A through D of the consent agenda.
Second, Mr. Gilstrap. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Consideration of appointments to the following boards and commissions. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I might, I would like to read all these together. Thank you. First, a resolution reappointing Constance Henderson as member of the Danville Redevelopment Housing Authority. A resolution appointing Wesson Claiborne Felder as a member of the Danville Redevelopment Housing Authority. A resolution reappointing Richard L. Turner as a member of the Industrial Development Authority. A resolution reappointing Shirley Premiano as a member of the Industrial Development Authority. A resolution reappointing Max R. Glass as a member of the Industrial Development Authority. A resolution reappointing John L. Ransom as a member of the River District Design Commission. And a resolution reappointing Robert P. Cassee as a member of the River District Design Commission.
Okay, second, Mr. Shanks. Okay, discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
New business. Consideration of amending 2020 land use map to rezone property located at 995 Putney Forest Road. Open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Yes, sir. Your name, please.
David Wayne Johnson, Sr.
Okay.
I'm a council. I own this property on Piney Forest Road, and I'm here to try to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Any questions from council members? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Shanks.
Yes, Mayor, I move for adoption of ordinance amending the year 2020 land use map from MR multifamily residential to RL retirement living to CS community service, and rezoning from MR multifamily residential to HRC highway retail commercial district, 995 Piney Forest Road, parcel IDs number 73021 and 53732, otherwise known as grid number 1811 block 05, parcel 13 grid 1811 and grid 1811 block 05, parcel 20 respectively, of the City of Danville, Virginia zoning district map.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shank. Would you read that again, please?
Yes, sir.
That's okay. Second by Mr. Raleigh. Discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Commissioner amending land use plan, rezoning and consolidating several properties to construct mini storage warehouses. Open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Yes, sir. Your name, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is R.J. Lackey. I'm an attorney with Woods Rogers. I'm here on behalf of the landowner, Piedmont Lands. This is the highest and best use of this property. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm here really to answer any questions you may have or answer any concerns you may have.
Any question from council for Mr. Lackey? Thank you, sir. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Jones.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance amending the year 2020 land use map, PSA, public and semi-public areas, NS, neighborhood service, and SSR, suburban family residential to ED economic development, and rezoning from S-R, suburban residential to LED-I, light economic development industrial parcels, number 75893, number 75892, and number 75890, otherwise known as Grid 2505, Block 003, Parcel 00006, Grid 2505, Block 003, Parcel 00005, and Grid 2505, Block 003, Parcel 00004, respectively, to the City of Danville, Virginia, zoning district map.
I do not have the nerve to actually read that again. Second, Mr. Buckner. Discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
First, we're amending Chapter 41, Code City of Danville, to allow an accessory building or accessory use without a primary building being located on the parcel. Open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? You look familiar, sir.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'm here on behalf of the tenant of the building, which is the Golden Leaf Bistro. That's the item C and item D are interrelated. But again, I'm here to answer any questions if there's any concerns about what the Golden Leaf Bistro would like to do, which is to ultimately move the density dumpster that's behind the building and near the back deck across the property that's owned by the landlord, which is the Danville Tobacco District. It will be enclosed, and it's in order to expand the back deck and provide more entertainment and dining facilities for the community.
Any question for Attorney R.J. Lackey? Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yeah. Where is he going to move it? Across the street to the parking lot?
Across the street from the Golden Leaf Bistro.
The front of the bistro across the street there?
Pardon me, sir?
Across the street?
Yes.
Okay.
In the parking lot across the street.
Yeah, how many parking places is that going to consume?
Not very many, about 4.
About 4. I have no objection. It's just sometimes it's hard to find a parking place there, which is a good thing.
Well, we appreciate that.
But, okay.
Other question for Mr. Lackey? Thank you, sir. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Shanks.
Yes, Mayor, I move for adoption of ordinance amending Chapter 41 entitled Zoning Ordinance of the Code of the City of Danville, Virginia, 1986 as amended. More specifically, Article 3K and 3L entitled CBC Central Business Commercial and TWC Tobacco Warehouse Commercial, respectively. Section C entitled Uses Permitted by Special Use Permit to allow an accessory building or accessory use without a primary building being located on the parcel.
Your second, Mr. Vogler. Discussion on the motion. Please call the roll.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Consideration of ordinance granting a special use permit to construct an accessory building without a primary building. Open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak?
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing further to say, but I'm here if there are any questions about that specific piece of property and the use.
Any question for Attorney Lackey? Thank you, sir. Council, your pleasure, Mr. Vogler.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance granting a special use permit to construct an accessory building without a primary building in accordance with Article 3K, Section C, Item 28 of the Code of the City of Danville, Virginia, 1986, as amended at parcel ID number 21242, otherwise known as a portion of Grid 2713, Block 010, Parcel 00006 of the City of Danville, Virginia zoning district map.
Okay, a second by Mr. Raleigh. Discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk?
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Vogler.
Aye.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh.
Aye.
Item B, consideration of an ordinance appropriating bond proceeds to fund specified capital improvement project. Mr. Buckner. Put your hand up. Okay. Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move for the consideration of ordinance amended the fiscal year 2015 budget appropriation ordinance to provide the proceeds for the sale of general obligation bonds for fiscal year 2015 appropriating the same.
Okay, there's a second. Mr. Raleigh. Discussion on the motion. First reading. Consideration of appropriating state and local funding for the Comprehensive Services Act. Council pleasure. Mr. Raleigh.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2015 budget appropriation ordinance by appropriating Comprehensive Service Act funds and providing local matching funds for a total appropriation amount of $4,124,170 for first reading.
Okay, second, Mr. Vogler. Discussion on the motion. Okay, I have a question, Mr. King, for you or staff on the CSA regarding this amount of money.
Question?
Yeah. The question is, of the $4 million we're talking about spending, how much money is that of state money? How much of local funds? Are there any federal funds involved in the state money? But again, how much local fund we're putting into this $4 million? Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The amount of local funding is $1,160,000. The remainder of the funding is all federal and comes through the CSA Act.
Okay, at one time when this first started, and I think the commissioner was from Iowa, he had moved here, Larry Jackson, I believe his name was, and the local share continued to go up across the state. Is that pretty much balancing out now in terms of this has been about the same percentage Danville has been putting in for the last X number of years?
The local match that we're requesting this year is this year is the very same as for last year. You may recall that several years ago we were asked to develop our own program, which we did, and that program now rests within the Social Services Division under Mr. Moody, and we were able to hire our own CSA coordinator, Ms. Jones, who is also in the audience. We have our own local board, and we have developed new policies and regulations. Ms. Jones has done a tremendous job working with her board to find services as close to home as possible for the young people and the families, which has brought the cost of the program down.
Okay, and hopefully the last question. Is this the first year that Danville is running its program independent of our neighbor Pennsylvania County? Because prior to that, didn't we work jointly with regards to the board, so to speak?
That's right. We had a joint program for many years. This is our second full year.
Okay. And things are running well as far as we know. Okay. Other questions from Mr. Burnham while he's here? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. First reading. Consideration of appropriating state and local funding. Just did that one. Consideration of resolution authorizing staff to purchase 7.07 acres of property to be used as a parking lot and trailhead for the River Walk Trail. Mr. Vogler.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution authorizing and approving the purchase of 7.07 acres, more or less, owned by RWD LLC and identified as parcel ID 58383, map number 61-6-3, on City of Danville taxation records for a sum of $40,000.
What was the map number again, you say?
I
had to do it to you, I'm sorry. The one is 6163? I'm sorry. It's late, okay. Give us a second, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion on the motion. Mr. Vice Mayor.
I'm very pleased by this. As you cross the Aiken Bridge and look left over the old Value City lot, there's an undeveloped area there which we're purchasing at a fraction of the assessed value, which includes 49 parking places which are paved beside Abercrombie's business, which will then allow access to the river trail in that area. We don't have access to the river trail, which is being completed just there and will be completed further upstream to the Robinson Bridge. But it will allow access, and then the city will do minimal development and put a paved way from the parking lot, which is already paved, to the river trail. So really a great addition to the river trail and access. Thank you.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, would you agree that we got this at a real good price?
A good price. Very good price.
Further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye. Consideration resolution authorizing the posting of the In God We Trust motto in council chambers. Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Mayor, I move for adoption resolution of council in the city of Danville, Virginia, supporting the display of the national motto "In God We Trust" in a prominent place in the city council chambers.
Okay, second, Mr. Buckner. Okay, discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Communication, Mr. King. Okay, Mr. Whitfield.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Ms. DeMasi.
Nothing, sir.
Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Buckner?
Yeah, I just would like to thank everybody that came out tonight and expressed the concerns, and hope they know that none of us want to see the West End go away. I'd like to also thank our GW Eagles for an awesome game Friday night. I saw a lot of council there, and a lot of the community came out to support them, and hope everybody will come out to this Friday night for their next game against
Cortland.
Cortland.
Will be the last home game of the season.
Last home game of the season, and we're going to take it to them, hopefully. Also, I'd like to remind everybody once again about the No Shave November to raise money for the Danville Cancer Association. It's been a lot of fun so far. We've had a special guest from City Council join us one night with a very large beard that he shaved pretty quick. Vice Mayor Miller showed up, and we're also having a November 28th this month. We'll also that'll be the end of it all, and we'll be at the Linos and hopefully be able to hand over a quite sizable check to the Danville Cancer Association. I invite all of you to come out and join us. That's all. Thank you.
I understand the Vice Mayor had the grizzly mustache and the beard.
It was wonderful. It was huge.
Took months to grow that.
Thank you, sir.
Reverend Campbell?
Yes, I just want to salute the Eagles for their victory, and we are hoping that they will go all the way. And secondly, I'd like to thank City Council for voting unanimously to place the motto "In God We Trust" in our chambers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Gilstrap?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Mr. Jones?
So I want to say also to the George Washington Eagles and the young people, continue to do what you're doing. And Mr. Mayor, during this time of thankfulness, just want to wish everybody a very caring and thoughtful and wonderful Thanksgiving. And just to identify that from the Housing Authority, we identified 75 young people under the direction of Constance Covington Henderson that were in need of Christmas this year. And out of those 75 young people, the Citizens in this community all got together, and every one of those young people will have a sponsor, and they will have a very Merry Christmas. So I want to thank all of the businesses and all of those persons who grabbed one of those young people to make it a very Merry Christmas. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
75 already?
75 already.
That is great. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Well, it'll be a great weekend. We've got GW football Friday night. Friday and Saturday night, we have the Fiddler on the Roof at the North Theater. I went there last weekend for their comedy hour, and just to see what they did. And it was about an hour and a half of just hilarious comedy, something like you'd see on TV. And it was clean. They kept it clean. But my wife and I really enjoyed the comedy hour, and I think they're doing a great job at the North Theater. We need to support it. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Raleigh.
Mr. Mayor, I've been very quiet tonight.
Are you sick, buddy?
Not sick at all. Not sick at all. My mother-in-law told me today that she agreed with some of the things I said, but I needed to be a little nicer. So, Mary, if you're watching, I'm going to be a little nicer. I was just glad to hear and have open ears to what was said tonight about housing. I just hope that this group can help find people to come forward sooner than later to help fix up some of these structures. I don't disagree with a single word they said. And hopefully we'll be able to find some new owners. I know some of these properties, Councilman Shanks said, are very complicated and how they have tax liens and that type of thing on them. But I'm willing to do all we can to save houses where appropriate. But I appreciate them coming out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raleigh. So we can dismiss the myth that you have laryngitis?
That's it, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Shanks.
I kind of enjoyed a kinder, milder Buddy Raleigh this evening. Just kidding. I too would like to thank everyone for showing up tonight and expressing their opinion with regard to the old West End and the houses there. Let it be suffice to say we all know it's complicated, including the city staff perspective, and hopefully we can work together and protect as many of these properties that can be protected, and hopefully we can work together for the group out there and others to find additional folks interested in rehabbing the properties. Having said that, I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and support local merchants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vogler.
Yeah, in the past couple of months we've discussed a lot of issues down here, some involving controversy, some that have not. I just wanted to close tonight on all positive notes. Starting with, I want to mention the Kiwanis Club is holding a pancake breakfast on December 6th from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm selling tickets. They're only $5. But for those of you who don't know, the Kiwanis Club does a lot of great involvement in the community, helping young people and education and involved a lot of ways. And this is a fundraiser that helps go towards some of those activities. That's at First Baptist Church. And again, it's from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., but I am selling tickets, and they're only $5, so shameless plug for the Kiwanis Club. And as Councilman Buckner mentioned, the great thing that he's been doing, No Shave November, and raising money towards the Danville Cancer Association. And I got to see Vice Mayor Miller at that event, and I was not sporting the great beard that he had, and I was quite jealous of it, and I still don't know how he got rid of it so quick and how he grew it so fast. But he's going to have to let us in on the secret. And as mentioned, GW football, fantastic season that they are having. They're going to continue to have because they are going to win this Friday. And I encourage everyone that is here tonight and everyone watching at home, come to the game Friday night. I know it's going to be cold, but if there's enough of us there, kind of creates a little bit of heat, a little bit of warmth. But this past Friday, I did see some council members there, some school board members. Dr. Paul Hamus was there, and he was even kind enough to lend me his blanket for late in the game. And so it was a great environment. The team is playing fantastic. And again, those young men, I can't tell you enough that they do. They feed off the energy of the crowd. They love to see the support of the community. So I'd encourage everyone to come out. This is the last home game of the season. Support them as much as you can, and just do all you can. And I'd actually like to ask the business owners across the city. If you've got a marquee outside your business, think about putting "Go Eagles" up on your marquee, and just show those young men that, and show that just the school in general and the community that we stand behind them and we support them, and wish them the best of luck the rest of the way. And in closing, I just want to say we had a ribbon cutting at the New City Dance Space on North Main Hill last week. And just more positive things happening in the city, from North Main Hill to the River District to the West End. You see these renovation projects happening, and it's an encouraging thing to see. I hope we continue to see more of it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor Saunders.
Thank you. I, too, like to thank all of our citizens for coming out and showing interest, not only at our meetings here, but you call us, you email us, you see us and stop us wherever we are, and express not only your concern, but also your ideas and recommendations, and we really do appreciate that. This is the fourth consecutive City Council meeting that we've had a full house, two different issues, but yet a full house. I think that's great, that people coming out to voice their concerns, as well as their opinion, as well as make suggestions again. Want to thank Council again for all you do all the time. Our city employees, thank you as well. Want you to enjoy your well-deserved Thanksgiving Day and your Friday off. Well-deserved. Enjoy that with family and try to find some downtime for yourselves as well. I'm also pleased with GW High School, their football team doing a great job. Their record almost mirrors that of Dallas Cowboys, Mr. Vice Mayor, and not the Washington Redskins, Mr. Vice Mayor. I think, and let me just say, anyway, happy Thanksgiving to all, and please be safe. Meeting adjourned.
Certainly want to say good morning to all of you all, the city of Danville, this morning on this brisk, beautiful fall November morning. We appreciate you all being here. It's truly a pleasure to be here today as we inaugurate this brand new New City Dance Space today. This space is for anyone who is curious about dance and who would like the opportunity to experience different cultures through dance, whether it be swing, jazz, shag, waltz, ballet, Zumba, or even belly dancing. I hope you brought your shoes today. I'm watching a couple of my council members. Their reputation precedes them. So, a couple of people I want to thank. First of all, I want to publicly thank Rick Drajenovich and Public Works, the City of Danville Public Works. They did a wonderful job keeping things nice and tidy out here for us this morning. So, I want to publicly thank him. Before I get too far down the list, there are some folks that I would like to recognize, our elected officials that we have in the House today. Mayor Sherman Saunders, Councilman Alonzo Jones, Councilman James Buckner, Councilman Lee Vogler,
Did I happen to miss any councilmen in the place today? I want to make sure that I recognize each of you. Also, a few city staff members that we would like to recognize this morning. City Manager Joe King is here. Deputy City Manager Ken Larking. And also